It was another surprise. A gentleman by the name of Sean Foster bought a car on the website. Him and his family put it together with the help of Steve McCarthy. It was one of the quickest cars in the house. Not only was it fast, but it handled just as well. And there's several other stories as well. Jeff Malave yesterday on the start had a clutch come up through the bell housing of the car and literally almost cut half the body in half on the race car. He's back today. He knows he's a real racer. He'll be running up front as well. There's also the other stories to be told. Second and third generation drivers. Kid Rock looking to be a repeat winner. Frank Rocco, always the best and always strong. Nicole Morgillo, the young lady who knows nothing but one thing. Everything she participates in, she is good at. She recently took on bodybuilding. She's good at it. She has done just about everything in the sport from a youngster to today, and she's not done yet till she takes down a victory here at Stafford. A member of AARP, but he should be the poster boy, Dan Avery. He'll be long overdue for a victory. He could be a contender in this one as well. Todd Owen, the same. Bo Gunning likes this event, has been there and done that. Those stories and others as they parade around the half mile. They pass the teams, the crews down on pit road. Those are the men and women that have worked all winter long in preparation for this day. They've sacrificed time from their families, time from their businesses. You know why? Because this is their sport, the sport that they love. And this arena is the arena where the sport begins today.
And the arena champions is Ted Christopher. Moves to the front of the field. A new driver in this division, a rookie, but not a rookie at Stafford because he was a great driver in the SK Lights. That's Glenn Reed in car number 21.
They're given the yellow flag and the thumbs up from the starter's stand. Let's go down to Joe Koss for his final thoughts before the start of today's event.
Ben, you mentioned the hard work and effort and dedication that goes into preparing these race cars for race day. Well, one team that was working very early this morning, they were the first team in the garage area, was that of Eric Burt. Now, traditionally, Eric Burt runs a Dodge motor, but they had problems with that motor, so they had to switch to a Chevrolet, a Billy the Kid engine. Yesterday, they thought that they can get a little bit more out of that engine. They had the top half of that motor disassembled in the pit area today. They had all the mechanics working on it. They were here bright and early. As soon as the gates opened, he'll start second, hoping that the work that they put in, the final last adjustments after months and months of preparation, will pay off with a Spring Sizzler victory to start off 2011.
Ladies and gentlemen, as they head off turn number 4, let's give them a send-off. They are, well, we refer to them as the junior stars of NASCAR. Salute them. Get up and wave. Give out a shout. This is SK Modified Country, and that was Jackaroot's dream. Make some noise and let them know that you care, because we are seconds away from going racing to the first event on Spring Sizzler Sunday for the SK Modifieds.
Stafford Motor Speedway, the home of the SK Modifieds. And at the front of the field, a man with 110 victories, Ted Christopher. Eric Burt, the Bulldog. Started winning races here at Stafford when he was 16 years old. In the second row, the man known as the Silver Fox, Brad Hightower, and the Grenade, a couple of Ellington drivers in the second row, and the Grenade being Sean Foster.
Woody Pitcat making up that third row. This is the Hitchcock Pool sponsored machine and the Davidson Company. Car number 5 has elected to start at the rear of the field. For some reason, he's chose to drop back further. That's the Backeye machine. Alongside will be the number 09. You might consider him a long shot, Chris Matthews, but not by any stretch of the imagination. The Roccos. No relations here, different spelling of the name, but the performance is the same. They're flat out die-hard competitive racers. Keith Kid Rock is definitely a guy to contend with. He is not only an outstanding competitor, but a great representation of the sport of auto racing. Frank Rocco is alongside.
And both Roccos won their heat races yesterday, so they have great cars. And everybody wants to start off the season on the right foot by winning on Spring Sizzler weekend. we are ready to light the fuse on what should be an action-packed 2011 season. To take you to the starting line, here's the voice of the Stafford Motor Speedway, Ben Dodge.
Off turn number 4, TC Ted Christopher. Green, 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 and they're racing. We're underway. Bottom of the racetrack, down at turn 1. Christopher guards the inside. The Bulldog, Eric Burt, takes him out wide, and Burt will take over the lead as they head to turn 3.
A great fight for third. Hightower on the inside and making some magic on the outside. Is Sean Foster. Right behind them is Pit Cat. And Keith Rocco has already moved up to the top 6.
Well, all that's been happening. Foster moves into the 3rd spot. We've got a problem to the top side of the racetrack, and the first caution comes out with 1 lap up on the board. Heather DeRocher, the girl that came here with a dream just to get into the program, will be among the first casualties of the event. She started back in the 22nd starting position. And it's a bad day for the girls because car number 55, Nicole Morgillo, was also involved in the mix-up. Down on pit road, car number 29, Brian Sullivan. That car was evil yesterday afternoon, and apparently the story is not much different here today.
So an early pit stop, and he is joined, and it looks like Jeff Malave perhaps at the far end of the paddock. So didn't take long for the action to start as Nicole Morgillo wound up on the exit at turn 4, but far more serious trouble for Heather DeRocher.
Joe Koss has a story on car number 29.
Now, Brian Sullivan, his car may be dumping fuel out of the racetrack, so the NASCAR officials and the team down here are going to take a quick look at it. Had a hard time getting the car refired to leave pit road. They push-started it. He'll be back into the competition. Should be no harm, no foul for Brian Sullivan.
He'll pick up at the rear of the field early today in the pit area. You know, you see a lot of different things going on that kind of makes a smile come on your face. Tommy Bowles' girlfriend was taking nail polish and touching up the red of the race car. And I went over and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I just want to make sure it looks perfect. That's all. This car came here perfect. I want the finish to be as good as the look it's going to have."
Well, we always knew Tommy Bowles was a polished race driver, and now we know it's a fact. As the Sky Pilot goes in for a landing, Kirk Zervis in car number 99. He is a commercial pilot, and a week ago at this time, he was in Hong Kong. And he flew in, and he'll be here for about a month at the early part of the season.
Joe Koss had the opportunity to talk to Heather DeRocher. This was a big step up, Joe, for her. Quickly, can you tell us how that team got put together?
Happened for Heather DeRocher. Steve Greer, one of the drivers in the SK Light Modifieds, he put together an engine package that allowed her to move up. This is the same race car that she drove last year in the SK Lights, and it was actually a fan by the name of Harvey Morris. He came out, they met last year. He had a t-shirt on that had a picture of Heather. He said Heather's biggest fan, and they met, they got talking. He put his resources into this race car. Heather DeRocher able to make her debut, but comes back to the pit area on the back of the record. A tough luck early mishap for her will sideline her from the event momentarily, although the crew will try to get it going once again, but we'll see what she can do here as the event goes on.
Jeff Malave comes back out on pit road. Yesterday, he blew a clutch in that race car. It came right up through the bell housing and literally cut half the body off the race car itself. Thank goodness it went to the right instead of to the left. Get ready. We're about to go back to green. 1 lap up on the field. A reverse of what we saw on the initial start, Matt. Down to the line they come, and the Bulldogs got a good advantage. Look at Sean Foster now, working his way to the inside of TC Ted Christopher. Christopher steps on the gas, down the backstretch, inside, outside, bottom shot move. We've got a bid for the lead.
And the crossover works for Ted Christopher as he is able to wrestle the lead away from Eric Burt by about a sliver as they get to the line. Then it is Foster holding off the determined Woody Pitcat as they rumble down the backstretch.
The Bulldog just took a big bite out of the back of Ted Christopher's car, scrambled down the backstretch. Car number 9, Brad Hightower, off the pace, gathers it back, no harm done, as they work their way back to line in formation. Woody Pitcat has moved into the top 4 with car number 99, and with him is Keith Rocco. Caution flag is out. Car number 29 will be a car that makes contact with the wall between turns 3 and 4. So the second caution of the event comes out. Car number 95 is also back down on pit road for Vinny and Gleiss. So 2 cautions so far as we are in a holding pattern. Matt, let's talk a little bit about Woody Pitkat and the number 89 car. The Davidson team that was created by Mr. Rowe originated, and this is how the tale of the story goes. Woody Pitkat had vacated his ride. He was walking in the grandstand area when David Rowe was sitting in the grandstand and said, "Woody, where's your race car?" Woody looked at him almost with tears in his eyes and said, "I don't have a ride anymore." And David Rowe said, "We'll see about that." That marriage became the marriage that we now refer to as the Davidson Dudes. And Tim Rowe has done a remarkable job of keeping his father's dream and that dream alive and keeping a lot of teams racing in this business.
And the combination of Dave Rowe and Bob Hitchcock and Kelly Iverson helped Woody Pitkat win the 2006 Regional Championship and a trip to Las Vegas. Kid Rock on pit road in car number 88.
Now, we've seen this happen many times before for Kid Rock to come on pit road. There is only 3 of the 40 laps up on the board. They've got the hood off the car. Now, that is something that is kind of unusual. For those of you that don't know that are race fans, Keith Rocco works for Pettit Engineering, building racing engines. So he is an expert when it comes to engines. Joe Koss, tell me what you see. I see you right there at the front of the car. Is it an engine problem or a problem with the suspension in the rack?
No, it's the rack, Ben. He cannot steer the car properly, so right now they're going to go ahead and take the hood off just because it's easier to access that rack steering that they have in the front. They're not sure if it's a power steering issue, but certainly a little bit of panic here for the defending national champion and track champion, trying to see what the problem is with the geometry and why that steering wheel just doesn't bite like Keith Rocco needs it to.
His dad, Ronnie Rocco, is saying under his breath right now, well, in the old days, real drivers didn't have power steering. They just manhandled the car. Come on, son, you can get the job done, and he will be able to get the job done. The cars run rack and pinion steering, which is the type of steering that is used on most cars that are on the street and road today. Jeff Malave's car being brought back down on pit road, the 29 car on the hook, and the 18 car of Michael Bennett is being pushed down the backstretch. Now, the Bennett machine, if it looks familiar to you, the Bennett machine is one of the Davidson Company race cars. It is the car that we used to refer to, the car that goes and glows. And that was the car that Woody Pitkat had tremendous success with here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. During the off-season, some changes were made, and Bennett had the opportunity, his father-in-law, Randy, and Wendell Kilcollins put this team together in the 11th hour. Speaking of the 11th hour, the clock has struck, and we're back to racing. Wide open, down the back stretch, deep into turn 3.
Well, it's a good battle between Christopher in the 13, Eric Byrne in the 54. They swoop off the corner. An even title battle for 3rd and 4th between Sean Foster and Woody Pitkat. Kurt Lenahan might be a surprise. He plans on running a part-time schedule this year, but right now he is fighting for 5th.
Meanwhile, running to the outside, here comes Frank Rocco, and don't count out the talents of Ryan Preece. In the test and tune session, he had the fastest car in the house, another Hitchcock-prepared Jimmy Fuller race car, and that car is threading the needle through traffic rather nicely. Hats off to Sean Foster. Last year they counted him out, they laughed at him, but they're not laughing now. He's showing his friends that he can get the job done and run up front. He currently sets in 3rd. Lanahan runs in his tire tracks as they come back to the line. Further back, Bo Gunning is working his way to the front of this field. From 18th, Matt, Gunning is now in the top 10.
As he is being scored in 10th place. So Bo is on the move. Car number 98 going backwards. Woody Pitkat, as when they cross the stripe now, Frank Rocco gets by him, and Woody Pitkat has fallen from 3rd to 8th.
Meanwhile, trouble. We've got one around to the bottom in turn number 1 and 2. It looks like that is
Kid Rock.
Yes, it is, and we seldom see that take place. But remember the steering problem. That could be the cause of that situation. Meanwhile, here is the 91 machine of Frank Rocco, working his magic up to the 6th spot. Currently 6th on the field. It was the 98 of Gunning that was the car that spun, not the Rocco machine. Off the turn, back to the stripe they come. Avery now is reeling in on Woody Pitcat. Remember how strong Pitcat looked a few laps ago? Well, look at Ryan Preece. Preece, in a car that they call the CD test model, is a car that is flying. It is the quickest car currently on the racetrack, 19.177. The only car that is running as quick is the leader, and that is Ted Christopher. Look at Rocco now. That's Frank Rocco as he stays glued to the back bumper. Bottom shot move by Preece. Preece is down under the number 8 car, Matt. Can he get the job done?
Not enough energy that time as he made a bid for it down low, and Lenahan was able to fight him off. Frank Rocco also in the picture. 4th, 5th, and 6th. One of the tightly contested battles on the track. Here comes Preece. Power move down low. Trying to blowtorch his way underneath Lenahan, and he pulls it off. And making an identical move is Frank Rocco. Let's see if he can complete the maneuver.
Frank Rocco does create some magic to the inside. They come off the turn, down the backstretch. Wow, it is a surprise, but Lenahan pulls Rocco. Rocco's got some big power always when he comes to the half mile, but this time off turn number 4, Frank Rocco moves in and picks up the position here. Let's set the field for you, 13 and counting. Ted Christopher is the leader. We've got car number 95 spinning for Vinny and Glace. He tries to pull back out of harm's way, and we might remain under green here. No, that's not going to be the case, Matt.
As that's the second time that Vin Englace has wound up in John Deere country, and he will go back out onto the Speedway, and we have our 3rd caution in this race after 13 laps. 2 leaders, Ted Christopher, the most current leader, as he and Eric Burt were pulling away from the field. Bo Gunning that's Michael Bennett, has gone on pit road and making a return appearance. That is Keith Rocco, so apparently there is still work that needs to be done on that number 88 car.
This might be the opportunity that they need as long as they don't go down any laps. Joe, has the team prepared anything for these quick in and out pit stops? Woody Pitcat is in also, Joe.
Well, yeah, Ben, they have the power steering rack down here just ready to go in case they need to put it on as the event goes on. Right now they've got a bottle of power steering fluid ready to go over the crew members. Jeff Rocco, Keith's brother, reaching in, pulling that steering wheel left and right so he can feel exactly what Keith is talking about. They're going to go ahead and take a look under the hood. The crew much more calm than they were a couple of moments ago. Woody Pitcat is in. He was stuck in the outside line. He wanted to get down to the bottom. That's why he was dropping back through the pack so he can get down to the inside. They're making a chassis adjustment. Bob Hitchcock doing that on the right front of this automobile. He's the car owner of this number 89, making a quick chassis adjustment while it's still early on in this 40-lap SK feature.
Bob Hitchcock is one of those people that just doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. He's very talented. His girlfriend, Kelly Iverson, they're really individuals that eat, sleep, and love the sport of auto racing. So a heartbreaking situation there, and their still work continues. Michael Bennett coming back out. The back eye machine is coming back out. Work still continues on Keith Rocco's car. His rack and pinion steering, it looks so easy. It's got 4 bolts that literally hold it into position. But you have to remember this, that the radiator is directly in front of that, and the temperature of the radiator on a day like today is around 225 degrees. So it's not as easy as you might think to change that. You can have all the pieces of the puzzle in place, but putting them in is not an easy task. But this team is smart enough to figure out pit strategy and make it all work.
So we should have a great restart between Ted Christopher and Eric Byrne. Chris Matthews might be the early success story of this race, running 3rd next door to Ryan Preece. Chris Matthews, kind of a low-key guy in a high-key sport. Let's see who raises the volume as they come out of turn 4.
Off turn number 4, keep your eyes also on Glenn
Christopher
Reed.
does not come up to speed.
Problem, getting the car in gear. It sends a shimmy, shimmy, shake all the way back on the inside lane. Challenge for the lead, no surprise. Preece moves to the inside. Burt on the outside. They're wheel to wheel, door handle to door handle. 4 cars under a blanket, back to the stripe. Preece has it by a nose as they head to turn 1.
Perfectly executed bottom shot by Preece. Christopher is back up to speed, trying to pull even with Eric Burt for 2nd. Kurt Lanahan refuses to fade. He does a little tapping on the back bumper of Christopher. Then Matthews. He is in a mess. He goes to the outside to avoid Lanahan and finds up some speed when he goes out there.
No question about it. Lanahan's got some big steam. We'll refer to that as power. Dan Avery, he's starting to show a little muscle now. And all of a sudden, Teddy Christopher's getting settled back in. As they work their way through the turns, a little further back, Todd Owen is coming on strong. And Glenn Reen is a guy who's passed more cars than anybody else with that 21 car. So Reen went from the SK Lights to the Modified Tour, had success in both places, got this ride through the internet, and now he has passed more cars than anyone else in the field. Ryan Preece is the guy to watch. 19.048. Ryan Preece is the first car to dip into the 18-second bracket. He does it 17 laps in, and Bo Gunning spins again, but fires it back up. 18.997. Last lap, lap 17 on Ryan Preece. That car is smoking. That's fast enough to run with the Whelen Modified Tour.
Matt Gallo doing a good job at car number 77. Currently has climbed up to 7th, and now he is pestering the back bumper of Dan Avery, the black number 10, who is in 6th. Sean Foster is behind them, and then it is Lanahan, and look who's moving up to the top 10, the tenacious one, Todd Owen.
Todd Owen said the car felt stronger and stronger the more laps he got in. Lanahan's car
Hiccup.
just did a little hiccup. It was more like a hula dance as it went from side to side. Bo Gunning is back there also. Here comes the 21 of Glenn Reen that we've been talking about. He just moved up a little closer, and Reen has now found a home in the top 10.
Boy, the blur you just saw was Ted Christopher getting underneath Eric Burt to move into second. So Ted, maybe a sense of urgency in the cockpit of that number 13 car as he tries to track down Preece.
It is car number 9. Brad Hietala goes spinning. Everybody scrambles. Will he be able to fire it back up? He tries, but the caution flag comes out. Wow, 22 laps, just 2 laps past the halfway marker in this event. Let's tell you some of the many stories that have taken place. Ryan Preece, with the number 40 car, started in the 9th position, took over the lead. His fastest lap was at 18.937. 18.937.
And that was on lap number 19 in which he did it. So that isn't too far away as we check on. And what's happening on pit road is a lot is happening, and Joe Koss is here to tell us about it.
Loosen some of the steering linkage. That was what was calling that feeling that Keith Rocco didn't like. They pulled a bolt off that other spare rack that they had on the pit cart down here, and they'll try to attach that, tighten up what they had, and make it work so Keith doesn't have to just ride around out there, that he can get back after it and get up there and start picking up some spots. Some adjustments for Brad Hietala is in. Also, Kurt Lanahan, he started backing up a little bit. Ben, you had mentioned his car just a bit loose. They'll take a new tire on the right side to try to help that situation.
Matt, the strategy that Keith Rocco is using is really good strategy because they're not losing any laps, by the way, because these laps do not count. So every time they come in, they're looking and adjusting and making some minor adjustments. He still could become a factor in this event. We are 1 lap past the halfway point.
Now, just a little refresher course for maybe first-time fans who are unfamiliar with weekly racing. In this race and in the late model race, cautions do not count. So a driver can make adjustments just as long as he pits and it's still yellow, he won't be a lap down. It'll be different in the Whelen Modified Tour race.
About ready to go back to green off turn number 4. And it is Preece, a nice jump again. Teddy Christopher looked a little better in the outside groove. Don't count out Frank Rocco. He's looking good. Todd Owen slips up and almost takes Sean Foster with him with car number 25. Back to the stripe they come, and running strong in the outside is still Glenn Reen with car 21. A bid for second down the backstretch, and look who's about to go a lap down, Matt.
And it is Kid Rock, Keith Rocco, but the yellow will save him because we have a problem in turn 2. Zervis is on the bottom of the track, and he gets that car moving again.
And it looks like Vinny Anglace, I believe, the 95
The 95 car with the orange numbers.
Yep.
He is pinned against the railing in turn number 2. And a sigh of relief for Keith Rocco, because he was on the verge of going a lap down. And now he will move to the
Rocco
tail
go
end
ahead
of
of the pace
lead
car,
lap,
ahead of the
unless
pace car.
he decides to go on pit road first,
and he's going to come
where
back
Kurt
in.
Lanahan is, and also Kirk Zervis.
Kurt Lanahan had a very quick race car, plenty of horsepower beneath the hood. The car started out good, and then it got immediately loose. When it got loose, it became evil. And that's what they're in making an adjustment for. This might be a break again for Keith Rocco. Believe it or not, he did not go down a lap. The caution came out just in time, and he headed back down on pit road. Zervis is back down there as well, and so forth with it. Joe, does it look like they're still dealing with the same problem as they come in each and every time?
Yeah, exactly so. And the bolt that they're working on is on the right front. And as you had mentioned earlier, it's directly behind that radiator that, of course, gets extremely hot under these conditions here this afternoon. Now, the other problem that they're fighting is the fact that they didn't have a chance to get all the Zeus fasteners into that sheet metal. Now, all of a sudden, that front panel that sits directly in front of the hood is all bent up and twisted. So it's going to be hard to put that back on the race car. So now they're starting to get into some more problems. They were able to stay on the lead lap, but now I think panic's starting to set in a little bit here, as these guys know if they want to be a contender in this event, time is running out to get this situation rectified.
Back down on pit road, Joe. Here comes Woody Pitcat again. Can you keep your eyes on that situation? We're not sure what's happening there in the Hitchcock Pools Davidson company car. Before it was right side rubber, now it appears to be left side rubber. Tell us more, Joe.
Yeah, left side rubber here for Woody Pitcat, and they're also going to take some time and make sure that the front grille of the race car is clear. Again, talking about the heat today, trying to take care of those motors. And you mentioned earlier, this is a team that has worked together in the past, but this race car hasn't had a lot of laps at this facility. So they know how to get around here, they know how to work together as a team, but they still think that it's going to take a little bit for them to gel to figure out exactly what this particular race car needs. We'll see how they do right now, continuing to make adjustments and improve upon car number 89.
Let's set the field for you before we're about to go back to green. Your leader is car number 40, Ryan Preece, fastest car on the racetrack, 18.936. Currently in the second spot, he was a previous leader for a while, Ted Christopher, Stafford's all-time winningest driver in car number 13. Third position, the Bulldog, Eric Burnt. He tasted the sweets up front for a while. He is currently your third place car. In the fourth position is Frank Rocco, the blue and black, number 91. Fifth position is Gallo, the 77. Good run for that independent runner. And then in the sixth position, nice run by Chris Matthews. Started in the sixth spot and has maintained a home among the top 6
let's talk about Chris
cars.
Matthews,
So
because Ben's just talking about it right now.
Dan Avery is 7th. Todd Owen is 8th. Sean Foster still running 9th. Great job. And Glenn Reen has passed more cars than anybody in the 10th spot.
Yep.
Joe Koss, what have you got?
Well, Ben, we talked about Chris Matthews as possibly being somebody that can come up and surprise some people. He's a guy that is a part of a 4-car team in total, and 3 cars in the SK Modifieds. Of course, Brad Itella and Todd Owen, the other ones. It's the biggest team in the paddock area, and they have the opportunity to work together, to share information. And Brad said that I really think it's going to start working well for us this year. That seems to be the case here early on for Chris Matthews with a good, solid run.
They double them up. The wheel and lights are off on the pace car at the point. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. We're 22 complete of this 40-lap event.
Hey, Eric.
These are the SK Modifieds. Dogfight battle. These two drivers in the front row you'll see running in the NASCAR.
Like Brian
Wheel
wanted me to
Modified
go across
Tour
pit road here to do a stand-up. That ain't happening. I'm not going across pit road with these guys flying in and out. So.
Reestablishing himself, and at the front is Ryan Preece.
I'm just not doing it because I'm not going to get killed.
Christopher on the outside. He is going to power surge his way into second past Burnt. Look at Frank Rocco. He has fallen off temporarily to 4th, but he is trying to make a move against Eric Burnt.
The outside lane getting shuffled back, and it is the Hitala cars that seem to be stuck out there. Meanwhile, Dan Avery moves in, and trouble. Nicole Morgillo. She's more than hot stuff. She's smoking heavily off
89
turn number 4.
Pitcats in it.
And involved in the mix-up as well is the number 89 car of Woody Pitcat. The right front wheel is peeled back on that. What a heartbreaker for Nicole Morgillo.
There's also another car that's just moving off the wall, and I think that is the 98. We'll get a look at it as it
Nope.
comes to in our view.
It is
It's the
the
05
machine
of Adam Scavera.
So Scavera,
So 3 cars were
able to
involved in
pull
that
away.
fracas.
and a real heartbreaker. You know, we talked a little bit about Nicole Morgillo. Nicole started her racing career in quarter midgets, came up through the ranks, went to sprint cars. She's had success in everything she's competed in. She is a pretty versatile young lady, but I think the most interesting statistic, Matt, you and I were shocked at, that she's become heavily involved in bodybuilding, and she was approaching it at an amateur level, and guess what? She's more than an amateur.
Yeah, she was always been interested in the weightlifting, but she decided to take up bodybuilding 6 months ago. 2 weeks ago on April 17th, she was involved in her first competition in New Haven, and she finished second. And do you know what the name of the division in which she finished second? The bikini division.
Wow.
So she finished second in her first ever competition, and she was excited about that. So now she's kind of
Heartbreaker
put
here.
the
The Scranton Motors wrecker going to assist and pick up the front of the race car. Usually the radiators in these race cars, they set literally in what we would call a track. And when you get a solid hit like that, the radiator can move forward or back. And that's what has taken out the radiator in that car.
And here's a trivia question for you. A former Stafford competitor in the SK Modifieds, also won a race here in the Super Modifieds, was also a championship bodybuilder.
That individual was a gentleman who is well represented with the color purple, which is Robbie Summers.
Robbie Summers, another driver who was also a champion bodybuilder.
So they double the field up. Now, here's a little bit of tidbit. If you don't think I have connections out and about, get this. Keith Rocco's car, the power steering has been fixed. It is 100% ready to go to the front of the field. So take a look at where he is now. If you think he's going to stay there, you're wrong. Keith Rocco's got the car, the suspension, the steering back in, and he's Italian. You know what that means?
No.
He's got a temper, and he's going to go to the front of the field.
17 laps
off
for
turn
him to
number
make a
4.
move. So we get ready to turn him loose. What a smooth start for Ryan Preece. As he's able to roller coaster his way. A little bit of a bagging deep in the back, 3 wide. Hitala caught in the middle as a car spins in turn number 2. And somewhere in that dust, we have more trouble.
We certainly do. It appeared that Todd Owen's car had a problem of getting the car into gear. Monsanto's machine, and I'm not sure. It's the 22 car, we believe, is the other car for Michael Jervis that has come to a halt. So the 22 and the 43, both of those two are graduates from competing in the SK Light division at one time in their career. And the two come together. So that's going to shuffle things around just a bit. And believe it or not, all of this is working to the advantage of Kid Rock. And let's see, Joe Koss has been down there checking things out. And we're going to take a look at a replay. And while I'm doing that, I'm sending Joe Koss on a mission to look at the Nicole Morgillo car. Here's our vantage point. Field comes down the front straightaway. Owen's car does not start. The outside lane gets backed up. Owen tries to get out of the way, and that's what happened. Jervis was in the wrong spot at the wrong time. He didn't do anything wrong. He was just bounced around like a ball in a pinball machine. And Joe, I sent you over there by the young lady. Behave yourself, but tell me what's going on.
Well, right now the race car is fairly badly damaged on the front here. The radiator is damaged, as you had mentioned, but I caught up with Nicole Morgillo. Nicole, a lot of people talking about your skills out on the racetrack this year. You're doing very well in the modified ranks, but today didn't quite get underway the way you wanted to. What exactly happened out there at Caution to Go?
Well, actually the car is really loose, so I was really just trying to log laps and hang on to it, but I got on the outside of the 05 and he was sideways and all over the place, so really had no place to go. I was avoiding it and then someone just ripped my front end off, so really bad place at bad time.
So a tough break for Nicole Morgillo, a brand new look to this team, and they're pretty fast and a lot of people talking about what they can do, so we'll just see if they can rebound next Friday night.
Well, the field is now doubled back up. 23 laps are up on the board. Still plenty of time left. If you think it's over with, well, you're way off on that one. Lights are off on the safety vehicle provided by Wheelan Engineering. Leaders in lights, sirens, and safety equipment. Todd Owens' race car told you it was a problem with the transmission. They've got it jacked up. Either the linkage hung up or something along those lines, because that car is down on pit road. Get ready. Watch for that pace car to make that sudden left turn, and we're going to be back to green. Place your bets now. 23 and counting. Odds on favorite would have to be, well, either guy in the front row is good, but who is the very best? We'll soon find out. Green, 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 and we're racing.
And once again, Ryan Preece is very smooth on the restart, almost like he has velvet for tires. Christopher darting into second, but he has to worry about Eric Burt. And what a battle for fourth and fifth. In the middle of it is Matt Gallo in car number 77, and hovering to his outside is Frank Rocco, who gets the jump on him.
The Guida's Dairy Machine is working its way to the front. Gallo, I talked with his dad earlier today in the paddock area, and he said, oh, we've got to spin further back in the field. It is Bowles in the 76 car. The 05 Scavora, and we're still going to stay under green.
Everybody gets moving before Ryan Preece gets there, so Preece will be able to hang on to the lead. Matt Gallo doing a great job holding off Frank Rocco. That's kind of uncharted territory for Frank. He normally likes to hug the white line, and there he makes a move down low to get to the white line as he crossed right in front of Dan Avery.
Meanwhile, look a little further back. Avery is holding off Sean Foster. Now that could be the Cinderella story of this event. Foster didn't even know he would be racing at all this season. Got together with his dad. The family went and bought this race car off the internet. It was not a showpiece like it is now, but they revamped it, and with the help of Steve McCarthy, they're really turning some heads out there today. Look at Gallo. Gallo has picked up, and Gallo has moved in to currently the third position. So this kid's got a mission. He's got a ton of talent. The black flags for the 5 of Buckeye, who has a Nerf bar running. Look at Frank Rocco.
Oh, made a bold move, and Gallo was able to close the door. But things got interesting.
Yes, it was, as he made a shot for it to the bottom. Here comes Avery going to the outside of Burnt. That's a different strategy and a different pick to win there. Further back in the field, Keith Rocco not showing much at this point. 29 laps up on the board.
Avery wanders to the outside against Eric Burt. A bold move, and it pays off for Avery. Last year, he came out of retirement, was away from the sport for 6 years. He said this year, there is no more rust, and there's no reason why he can't win. Glenn Reen continues to move up. He is now in the 9th place. Chris Matthews going to work downstairs against Sean Foster, and Matthews rumbling his way almost into 7th place, but Foster still holds a spot, and now it is taken away by Matthews.
Matthews literally bounced around and off Foster and cost him a position or two there. But now also it looks like that Jeff Malave's come to life, and coming with that little pack of cars is the number 89. Eric Burt is off the pace. The Bulldog continues to have no luck at all. Car number 54 is off the pace. 8 laps remain in this event. Leader of the field is still Ryan Preece. Christopher is still second. Gallo is third. Rocco is fourth. Avery's got 5. Matthews is 6. Reen is 7th. Malave is 8th. Foster is 9th. And guess what? Keith Rocco is up to 10th. 10th and counting, and he's knocking on heaven's door. He's tapping on the back bumper of Sean Foster. 34 laps up on the board.
So a little Woody Woodpecker action administered by the 88 of Rocco.
Trouble!
Gallo involved.
Gallo and
Coming
Frank
down.
Rocco, and amazingly enough, they pull away even though we go to caution.
Wow,
Frank
that got
Rocco.
a little scary, Ben, when Gallo went from the top groove to the bottom in front of traffic, but nobody made serious contact with the 77 car.
That was the battle for the 3rd position, as we are currently experiencing the 8th caution of the event. Most of these have been for minor jingles. Down on pit road, Frank Rocco is in with car number 91. Heartbreaker for Gallo as well. Those two cars came together like cymbals in an orchestra, literally right at the apex and center of the turn.
But the music was not very good as Gallo behind pit road. The big loser on that caution flag was Ryan Preece, who had a big lead over Christopher before the yellow came out, as we're going to try to figure out what happened between Matt Gallo and Frank Rocco. The 77 of Gallo, I believe he was on the inside, and he went up the track. Rocco was there, and we go downstairs to Joe Koss.
Well, new right front tire going on for Frank Rocco. They took a quick look at the suspension. Doesn't look like there's all that much damage on the race car. Stash Petova, who's reunited with Frank Rocco for the 2011 campaign, just going to go ahead and take a look around the race car real quick before they send him back out of the speedway. An update on Eric Burnt. It was a motor issue on their race car, still on pit road here. The car was running when it was on the pit lane. I didn't see any smoke, so possibly maybe down a cylinder or so. Remember, they were here early on today working on this power plant. It seems as though they still haven't found the answer.
We started with 29 cars in the field. 17 are currently on the racetrack. Most of them have been for minor technical problems, as now Frank Rocco comes back out and rejoins the field. 34 laps, 7 laps remain from the starter's stand. Clenched flags crossed in an X formation. If you haven't been to the racetrack, it means that they're asking the field to cross over. Ryan Preece on the inside, Teddy Christopher on the outside. Dan Avery inside row 2. What a good job by Chris Matthews. He might have has been a big factor all day long, but he is a guy who's been really consistently doing well. The 21 car is another one of those cars that has passed a lot of cars to get where he has 17 cars he's marched forward to go around. He's currently your 5th place car, so that tells a story there. And alongside car number 3, Jeff Malave, the story of overcoming the odds and the clutch that let go. He has found a home among those top cars. And I told you, Keith Rocco is coming. 7 laps, ready, get set. They're off and racing.
And once again, a perfect restart for Preece. As Ryan Preece restarts a bit beyond belief, Matthews giving Christopher some static. They are body pierced together as they go into turn number 3. Dan Avery is also there as they swoop off the corner. Chris Matthews is going to shotgun his way into second.
Chris Matthews might have been considered an underdog, but he's not now. Sean Foster the same. He's moved back among the top 6 cars. Here comes Keith Rocco in there with Malave. Malave goes to the outside. That's the battle for the 6th spot. Leader still remains Preece. He's in a zone of his own, and Matthews must be smiling from ear to ear when you go around Ted Christopher.
But the best racing is the 3-car fight for 6, consisting of Rocco, Malave, and Foster, as Rocco gets underneath Malave, and now he is on the move against Sean Foster. What a race turned in by Glenn Reen. This is his first SK modified race ever, and he is in the top 5.
He certainly is, and same can be said. The 3 stars in this event would have to be considered Chris Matthews in the 09 car, Sean Foster in the 25 car, and Glenn Reen in the 21 car. Those guys have shocked a lot of folks and turned a lot of heads. It's not over with yet, but we've got some good racing going on. Now we see that Keith Rocco has moved into the top 6. 2 laps now make it 1. Final circuit by. They head to turn number 1 for the very final time off the 2nd turn. Ryan Preece had the fastest car in practice, the fastest car on Test and Tune Day, and the fastest car in the SK Modified Spring Sizzler presentation. He'll take down the impressive victory. Outstanding run for Chris Matthews. Teddy Christopher unofficially in the 3rd spot. Dan Avery for 4th. Glenn Reen, a great run for 5th. Keith Rocco for 6th. And what about Sean Foster for 7th? 8th position goes to Jeff Malave. 9th is Kurt Brainerd. And 10th is Frank Rocco.
Then Tommy Bowles recovered to finish 11th. Michael Bennett in 12th. Kirk Service 13th. John Montesanto 14th. 15th was Bo Gunning. 16th, Adam Scavera. Brad Hightower in 17th. 18th was Mark Bacai. 19th, Matt Gallo. And Franciana rounds out our top 20.
Then it's Eric Byrne. Following Eric Byrne is Woody Pitcat, Todd Owen, Michael Jervis, Nicole Morgillo, Vinny Anglese, Kurt Lanahan, Brian Sullivan, and Heather DeRocher. Well, there's no question about it. A lot of names surface, and the first race of the year sets the stage on who to watch in 2011. You got to give credit where credit is due. Chris Matthews, with a home-built race car, started 6th to move to the podium. I think he gets an I Done Good award for the day. The next pick, your pick, Matt, would be that you think is just as impressive.
Well, Glenn Reen never raced in the SK Modifieds before, and he says just because I drove on the Tour, people think I can automatically come to the SKs. It's a completely different machine, and by him finishing in the top 5, it was impressive. One thing I want to point out, 3 drivers ran laps in the 18-second range: Ryan Preece, Keith Rocco, and Chris Matthews.
Certainly is. Now we'll shift our attention down to CarQuest Victory Lane, and our winner, a very happy and deserving Ryan Preece.
Oh, Ryan Preece, you beat some of the best in the business to win the Spring Sizzler and the SKs. How does it feel?
It feels good. This is definitely the way I wanted to start the year. I mean, the weekend we've been having, just up and down. I mean, we've been really good in this SK. The tour car's just been giving us problems, and you know, I can't thank my crew enough, man. They've been working their butts off. They haven't gotten much sleep. We were working last night at the shop on the tour car, but, you know, I got to thank my sponsors, because everybody, you know, we were so fortunate to have people come aboard. Mr. Pool and JG Pool and Drywell giving us this great Pettit motor. You know, this thing's real stout. Sullivan and Sons, he's a great guy, and my uncle's, he's partners for American Lamp Recycling. You know, they're really growing, and everybody who's looking to recycle things, you know, you should really look it up, ALR Recycling, and I'm just really happy to be in Victory Lane right now.
Well, a great way to start the season, and a very hard-working crew. Ryan Preece, when they unloaded this car last summer, everybody knew they were here, and they certainly knew that the car number 40 was at the Spring Sizzler today. They go to CarQuest Victory Lane, winning the SK Modified feature event here this afternoon, and he'll receive the trophy and the plaques and everything that goes with winning the CarQuest TechNet Spring Sizzler. Joined by our second place finisher, Chris Matthews. Chris, the question I have for you is, a second place run is good, but beating Ted Christopher to be second is just as good. Which one is tops?
I'll tell you what, that's like a win beating him. This thing was good today. I can't not thank everybody helping me out, the team. They really put a lot of effort into this car, and thank Brad and Linda for letting me drive it. It's a great car. I just got to thank everybody helping us out. Reliable Welding and Speed, Cooker Construction, Billy the Kid, Summersville Auto Sales, just everybody on there. Miller Oil, just can't thank everybody enough.
All right, that's Chris Matthews, a good solid second place run, talking about knowing who was in the house tonight. Chris Matthews, certainly one of those. Ted Christopher finished third. Ted struggled to get to Victory Lane last year. Ted, it looked like you were going to check that off early on in the event today, but you'll finish third in the SK feature.
Yeah, we just got too free on it, you know, and not quite key on the spec motor yet, but we'll see.
They're getting it figured out when they unloaded this car last year. It went to Victory Lane on the first night. Third place finish for Ted Christopher in the SKs.